Welcome back to Book Peer, everyone. I'm Paul,
I'm Alice.
and we are taking a deep look into the power of now. Have you heard of this thing?
Yeah, it's been pretty
It's
popular.
all about like finding peace and happiness, but not by, changing your life,
Right.
by changing how you like experience life.
Exactly. And a lot of times we create our own suffering
Oh yeah.
by getting lost in our thoughts, anxieties about the future regrets from the past.
Yeah, my mind is like a whirlwind sometimes. So how do we escape that?
Well, that's where the power of now comes in. Tolle goes about tapping into the power of the present moment.
Okay.
He calls it the now. And it's not just about being in the present, it's about really experiencing it.
Interesting. How do you actually do that though?
Well, he talks about simple things like really paying attention to your breath, feeling the sensations in your body, noticing the sights and sounds around you.
So it's kind of like mindfulness.
Yeah, you could say that, but it goes deeper than that.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that's experiencing those thoughts.
Wow, that's a real mind bender.
It is.
But I see how that could be helpful. If you're not your thoughts, then you don't have to be controlled by them.
Right, you get some space.
Yeah.
And when you're not all caught up in your thoughts, you can actually experience the peace and joy that's always present within you.
If you enjoy this breakdown of the power of now so far, hit that like button and subscribe to Book Peer. It really helps us out. Okay, so this idea of not being our thoughts, Tolle calls that voice in our head the ego, right?
Yes, and he says this ego is the source of so much of our suffering.
I can believe that.
It's constantly judging, comparing, worrying, keeping us stuck in negativity.
Yeah, it's like that little voice that's always telling us we're not good enough,
Exactly.
or we should be doing something different, or worrying about what might happen.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that Tolle argues this ego isn't our true self.
Okay?
It's like a false identity we create by clinging to thoughts and past experiences.
Okay, so if the ego isn't our true self, how do we, break free from this thing?
Well, that's where the power of the present moment comes in. The more we focus on the now, the weaker the ego's held on us becomes.
Okay?
We start to see that we have a choice to believe those negative thoughts or to simply observe them without judgment.
It's about creating some distance
Exactly.
between ourselves and our thoughts.
Exactly. And that distance allows us to access our true power, the part of us that's connected to something much greater than the ego.
That's a powerful image. So what about all the painful stuff from the past? I know Tolle talks about this pain body concept. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, he describes the pain body as this accumulation of negative emotions and experiences that we all carry around with us. It's like a shadow self that kind of feeds off negativity.
Yeah, I think we all have those moments where we get triggered and suddenly we're back in that old pattern of hurt or anger.
Exactly, and the mind keeps this pain body alive by replaying those painful memories and feeding it with more negativity.
Oh, it's like a vicious cycle.
It is
So how do we break free from this pain body?
by becoming aware of it, by simply observing those painful emotions and accepting them without judgment.
Okay.
We can detach from the pain body and start to heal.
So it's about facing the pain, not running from it.
Yes, it's about acknowledging those emotions and letting them be without getting swept up in the story they're telling us.
Interesting. This is making me think about how this all relates to our relationships. If the ego causes so much suffering within ourselves, it must also impact how we interact with others.
Absolutely. Think about it. Jealousy, possessiveness, the need to control, these are all ego-driven behaviors that can create so much conflict in our relationships.
That's so true. It's like when we're operating from that ego space, we're constantly trying to protect ourselves and our own needs, even at the expense of others.
Exactly, and that creates separation, true connection. Tolle argues comes from a place of presence and acceptance, not from the ego's demands and desires.
So what does that look like in practice? How can we bring more presence into our relationships?
It starts with awareness, noticing those ego-driven patterns within ourselves, and then choosing to respond differently, choosing to listen with an open heart, to accept our partners for who they are, to let go of the need to be right or in control.
I love that. So it's about choosing love over ego.
Beautifully put. And when we make that choice, our relationships can truly blossom.
This has been so eye-opening. What do you think, listeners? Have you experienced the power of presence in your own relationships? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're finding this discussion insightful, don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to Book Peer. We really appreciate your support.
Now, Tolle also talks about something called presence as a state of heightened awareness.
Okay, so it's not just about being in the moment.
It's about connecting with something deeper within ourselves.
So is it like a spiritual awakening kind of thing?
You could say that he describes it as connecting with our true nature, the part of us that's beyond the ego, beyond thoughts and emotions.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but that sounds pretty abstract. How do we actually access this deeper state of being?
Well, he suggests practices like meditation and mindfulness. He also talks about the importance of stillness and silence. It's about creating space for that inner connection to emerge.
So it's about quieting the mind and tuning into that deeper wisdom that's always present within us.
Exactly. And it's a journey, not a destination. It's about continually striving to be more present, more aware, more connected to that true self.
And this presence, this connection to our true self, Tolle believes that's the key to unlocking our full potential.
Absolutely. He says it's the source of true happiness, peace, and fulfillment. And it's available to all of us right here, right now.
Wow, that's inspiring. But I have to admit, I'm still a bit fuzzy on this whole true self concept. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
He describes the true self as pure consciousness, the awareness that's observing our thoughts and emotions. It's the part of us that's connected to something much larger than our individual ego.
So it's like we're all part of this universal consciousness.
Yes, and when we connect with that true self, we tap into a deep sense of peace and interconnectedness.
That's a beautiful concept. It's like we're all connected to something bigger than ourselves.
And that connection is the source of true love, compassion, and joy.
This is blowing my mind. It's like the power of now offers a whole new way of looking at life.
It does, and it's a perspective that can be incredibly liberating.
I'm definitely feeling inspired to learn more and to try to incorporate these ideas into my own life.
That's great. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. It's about taking small steps each day to become more present, to quiet the mind, and to connect with that true self.
What do you think, listeners? Are you ready to tap into the power of now? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Book Peer. We really appreciate your support.
Now, Tolle doesn't just talk about these concepts in the abstract. He offers a lot of practical techniques for incorporating them into our daily lives.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. What are some of those techniques?
Well, one of the simplest and most effective is focusing on the breath. He suggests simply taking a few moments to notice the sensation of your breath entering and leaving your body.
Oh yeah, I've heard that before. It's a common technique in meditation and mindfulness practices.
It is, and for good reason. It's incredibly grounding. It brings you back to the present moment and helps to quiet the mind.
So it's like an anchor to the now.
Exactly. And from there, you can start to expand your awareness to other sensations in your body.
Okay.
The feeling of your feet on the ground, the temperature of the air on your skin, the sounds around you.
It's about really tuning into the present moment through our senses.
Yes, and that sensory awareness helps to break the cycle of compulsive thinking that keeps us trapped in the ego.
Fascinating. Are there any other techniques he suggests?
Another powerful practice is self-observation. He encourages us to become the observer of our thoughts and emotions without judgment.
So it's about noticing those thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them.
Exactly. It's about creating a space between ourselves and our thoughts, recognizing that we are not our thoughts.
I could see how that would be helpful. It's like taking a step back and gaining a different perspective on our inner world.
Exactly, and that shift in perspective can be incredibly liberating.
This is making me think about how often we identify with our thoughts and emotions. We say, I am angry or I am sad, as if those feelings define who we are.
And that's the trip. Tolle says that those feelings are temporary. They come and go. Our true nature is the awareness that's experiencing those feelings.
So it's about recognizing that we are something much larger than those fleeting emotions.
Precisely. And that realization is incredibly empowering.
This is giving me a lot to think about. What do you think, listeners? Have you tried any of these techniques? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this conversation, don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to Book Peer for more insightful discussions like this one.
Now, Tolle doesn't just focus on individual practices. He also emphasizes the importance of applying these principles of presence to our relationships.
Oh, I'm interested to hear more about that. Relationships could be such a source of both joy and challenge.
They are. And Tolle believes that our relationships can be powerful opportunities for spiritual growth.
Okay, so
He says that our interactions with others often trigger our ego's deepest fears and insecurities.
I can definitely relate to that. I know I've been guilty of projecting my own insecurities onto my partner.
We all have, but Tolle says that by becoming aware of those patterns, we can start to heal those wounds and create more fulfilling relationships.
So it's about using those challenging moments as opportunities for growth.
Exactly, and he emphasizes the importance of bringing presence and acceptance into our interactions with others.
What does that look like in practice?
It means listening to our partners with an open heart without judgment or the need to defend ourselves.
It's about really seeing and hearing them without imposing our own agenda.
Exactly. And it means accepting them for who they are, even if they don't meet our expectations.
That sounds challenging, but also incredibly freeing to let go of the need to control or change our partner.
It is. And when we do, we create space for a deeper level of intimacy and connection.
Makes me think about how often we approach relationships from a place of lack or need. We're looking to our partner to complete us or to fill a void within ourselves.
And that's a recipe for disappointment. Tolle says that true love can only come from a place of wholeness, from the recognition that we are already complete within ourselves.
So it's about cutting to the relationship with a full cup rather than an empty one.
Exactly. And when we do that, we can offer our love freely and unconditionally.
That's beautiful. It's about seeing our partner as a separate being, not an extension of ourselves or a means to fulfill our own needs.
Right. And that kind of awareness and acceptance can transform our relationships into something truly special.
I'm starting to see how this power of now philosophy can really impact every area of our lives.
It really can. It's a profound shift in perspective that can lead to greater peace, happiness, and fulfillment.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of the power of now. What do you think, listeners? Are you ready to embrace the present moment? Let us know in the comments below.
And
don't forget to like and subscribe to Book Peer. We really appreciate your support.
It's interesting how Toll connects this whole idea of presence to happiness.
Yeah, I know we all want to be happy, but he seems to be saying there's like a deeper level to it than just, chasing pleasure or positive emotions.
Right. It's not just about feeling good.
Yeah.
He's talking about a more profound kind of happiness that comes from within.
So it's not about getting more stuff or achieving more goals.
Those things might bring us temporary satisfaction.
Yeah, for sure.
But they don't lead to lasting happiness.
Right. I've definitely experienced that. Like, you get something you think is going to make you happy, and then the feeling fades so quickly.
Exactly. Because true happiness isn't a fleeting emotion.
Hmm.
It's a state of being.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. But how do we actually reach that state of being? It sounds kind of mystical.
It's not as mystical as it sounds. It's about quieting the mind.
Okay.
Letting go of those thoughts that keep us stuck in the past or worrying about the future and just being present in this moment.
So being present in the now, easier said than done, though, right?
It definitely takes practice. Our minds are conditioned to constantly think, plan, worry.
Oh, yeah.
But with practice, we can learn to let go of those thoughts and just be.
So what are some practical ways to quiet the mind? I feel like mind is always racing a million miles an hour.
Well, one of the simplest and most powerful techniques is to focus on your breath.
Okay.
Just notice the sensation of your breath entering and leaving your body. It's such a simple but incredibly effective way to anchor yourself in the present moment.
I've heard about that before. Maybe I should give it a try. What do you think, listeners? Have you experimented with breath work or meditation to calm your mind? Let us know in the comments.
And speaking of calming the mind, Tolle talks a lot about the concept of surrender.
Surrender. That's a word that can have a lot of different meanings. What does he mean by surrender? Is he saying we should just give up on our dreams and goals?
Not at all. He's not talking about giving up or becoming passive.
Okay.
It's more about accepting the present moment unconditionally without resistance. It's about letting go of the need to control everything and trusting in the flow of life.
Okay, so it's about accepting what is rather than fighting against it.
Exactly. It's about realizing that we don't have to control everything. In fact, we can't control everything. And when we surrender to that truth, we open ourselves up to a deeper level of peace and freedom.
That sounds almost paradoxical, but I can see how it would be true. The more we try to control things, the more frustrated and stressed we become.
And the more we resist the present moment, the more we suffer.
Yeah.
Surrender is about letting go of that resistance and allowing life to unfold as it is.
So how do we actually practice surrender? It sounds like a pretty advanced spiritual concept.
It starts with awareness, noticing when we're resisting the present moment,
Okay.
when we're fighting against what is.
Like when we're complaining about something we can't change or worrying about the future?
Exactly. Those are classic examples of resistance. And when we notice those thoughts and feelings, we can just gently let them go.
So it's not about suppressing those thoughts, but about acknowledging them and then choosing to let them go.
Yes, it's a subtle but powerful shift. And the more we practice it, the more easily we can flow with the ups and downs of life.
I love that. It's about going with the flow rather than fighting against the current.
Exactly. And Tolle says that through surrender, we open ourselves up to a deeper level of peace and joy. We connect with the wisdom of the universe, which is always guiding us towards our highest good.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to life. It's not about forcing things to happen, but about trusting the process.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
We don't have to be perfect at it. Just keep practicing, keep letting go, and keep trusting that the universe has your back.
If you're enjoying this discussion on the power of now, bet that like button and subscribe to Book Peer. We really appreciate your support. And if you've ever experienced the power of surrender in your own life, we'd love to hear about it. Share your stories in the comments below.
Now we've talked about presence, happiness, and surrender, but there's another key concept in the power of now that we need to explore.
Okay, what's that?
The inner
The
body.
inner body. What's that all about? Is this like some kind of New Age anatomy lesson?
Not exactly. Tolle is saying that our bodies are more than just physical shells.
Hmm.
They're a gateway to a deeper level of consciousness.
So we can access spiritual insights through our physical bodies.
Exactly. He encourages us to pay attention to our physical sensations, to connect with the energy that flows through us. It's about really inhabiting our bodies and experiencing them as a source of wisdom and guidance.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How do we actually do that? How do we tap into the wisdom of our bodies?
One simple technique he suggests is to bring your awareness to your breath.
Okay,
Feel the air entering and leaving your body, the rise and fall of your chest. As you focus on your breath, notice any sensations in your body.
okay.
Warmth, tingling, pressure. Just observe them without judgment.
So it's about tuning into those subtle sensations we often ignore.
Exactly. And as we become more attuned to our bodies, we can start to tap into a deeper level of awareness. It's like we're awakening to the wisdom that resides within our own physical form.
That's fascinating. It's like we're reconnecting with our bodies in a whole new way. It's not just about how our bodies look, it's about how they feel.
Right. And he even suggests that by becoming more aware of our bodies, we can actually heal emotional pain and trauma that we've been holding on to.
Wow, that's powerful stuff. It makes sense, though. Our bodies hold so much wisdom. They've been with us through everything.
They have, and they're constantly communicating with us if we only know how to listen.
I'm definitely going to explore this concept further. I think I've been neglecting my body's wisdom for far too long.
I think a lot of us do. We live in a culture that's very head-centric.
Yeah,
We're constantly thinking, analyzing, planning. We forget to drop into our bodies and listen to what they have to tell us.
you're so right. This is making me think about how often we disconnect from our bodies in our modern world.
Yeah.
We're constantly bombarded with information and stimulation, and we rarely take the time to just be present with our physical selves.
You're absolutely right. And Tolle's teachings offer a powerful antidote to that disconnection.
Hmm.
They remind us that our bodies are sacred vessels, sources of wisdom and healing.
I love that perspective. It's so empowering.
Yes, and it's a reminder that true well-being involves nurturing both our minds and our bodies. We need both.
Absolutely.
They're not separate entities.
Well said. Now, Tolle also talks about something called portals into the unmanifested. What are those exactly? It sounds a bit like science fiction.
He's not talking about wormholes or anything like that.
Okay.
He's referring to those moments when we transcend our ordinary ego-driven awareness and connect with something larger than ourselves.
Hmm.
It's like glimpsing the infinite, the realm of pure consciousness that underlies all of creation.
Okay, that sounds pretty mystical. I'm not sure I'm quite there yet.
It is mystical, but it's also accessible to everyone. These experiences can happen spontaneously, like when we're out in nature and we feel a deep sense of awe and wonder, or they can be cultivated through practices like meditation and stillness.
So it's about quieting the mind and opening ourselves up to a deeper level of awareness.
Exactly. And Tolle identifies several portals that can facilitate this process, including stillness, silence, and surrender.
Okay, let's hear about those portals. I'm ready to open up to something bigger than myself.
Well, the first one is stillness. Cultivating a state of inner stillness through practices like meditation or simply being in nature allows us to quiet the mind and access a deeper level of peace.
I could see how that would be helpful. Our minds are so noisy most of the time.
They are. And the second portal is silence. Not just the absence of external noise, but the inner silence that allows us to hear the whispers of our soul.
I love that. It's like creating space for inner wisdom to emerge. It's about tuning into that quiet voice within.
Exactly. And the third portal is surrender, letting go of our need to control, to resist, to fight against what is. Surrender allows us to align ourselves with the flow of life and experience a deeper level of peace and acceptance.
These portals are all interconnected, aren't they? They all involve letting go of the ego's grip and opening ourselves up to something greater.
You're absolutely right. And Tolle says that by exploring these portals, we can access a dimension of being that is beyond our wildest dreams. It's a realm of infinite possibilities where we can tap into our true potential and experience the fullness of life.
Wow, that's inspiring. It makes me want to start meditating and exploring these portals right away.
Me too. It's an incredible journey of self-discovery, and it's available to all of us if we're willing to take the leap.
Well, this has been another fascinating part of our exploration of the power of now. If you're enjoying this discussion, don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to Book Peer.
And be sure to leave a comment below and share your thoughts on these portals. Have you experienced any of them in your own life? We'd love to hear your stories.
So we've talked about a lot of really interesting concepts from the power of now, like presence, the ego, the being body. But there's one big idea we haven't really touched on
You're
yet.
talking about enlightenment, right?
Yeah, enlightenment. It's like the ultimate goal for a lot of spiritual seekers.
It is, and Tolle definitely believes it's attainable. Not just for monks or gurus,
Right.
but for everyday people like you and me.
Okay, I'm all ears, but I have to admit the word enlightenment always sounds a little intimidating to me. Like it's this far-off mystical state that only a select few can reach.
I get that, but Tolle breaks it down in a really relatable way. He says enlightenment isn't about achieving some distant goal. It's about realizing a truth that's already within us.
So it's not about adding something new.
Right.
It's about uncovering something that's already there.
Exactly. It's about awakening to our true nature, which he describes as pure consciousness.
Okay.
The awareness that's beyond the ego and the limitations of the mind. It's about connecting with that part of ourselves that's eternal, unchanging, and full of peace.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do we actually access that true nature? Is there like a step-by-step guide to enlightenment?
Not exactly. Tolle says it's not a linear process. It's more about a shift in perspective,
Okay.
a letting go of the ego's grip on our thoughts and beliefs.
So it's about those aha moments
Yes.
where we suddenly see things in a new light.
Exactly. And those moments can happen spontaneously through meditation, through connecting with nature, or even through challenging experiences that force us to question our assumptions.
It's like those times when we hit rock bottom and suddenly everything becomes clear.
Exactly. It's in those moments of surrender that we often have our biggest breakthroughs.
So if enlightenment is about awakening to our true nature, what does that actually look like in everyday life? How do we know if we're on the right track?
Well, it's about living with a deeper sense of presence and awareness, free from the constant chatter of the ego.
Okay.
It's about experiencing life fully in each moment without the burden of past regrets or future worries. It's about responding to challenges with wisdom and compassion rather than reacting from a place of fear or anger.
That sounds like a pretty amazing way to live, but is it really possible to be that present and aware all the time? I know I struggle with that.
Of course we all do. It's a journey, not a destination. The key is to keep practicing, keep observing those patterns of thinking and behavior that keep us stuck, and keep choosing to align with our true nature.
So it's about those small daily choices
Yes.
that add up over time.
Exactly. And Tolle offers a lot of practical tools to help us along the way, like focusing on the breath, cultivating stillness, practicing surrender, and observing our thoughts and emotions without judgment.
We've talked about some of those techniques throughout this episode.
Right.
They seem so simple, but I could see how they could be incredibly powerful when practiced consistently.
They are. And the more we practice them, the more naturally we start to embody those qualities of presence, peace, and joy. It becomes less about effort and more about a way of being.
This is inspiring me to recommit to my own spiritual practice.
Yeah.
I've kind of let things slide lately, but I can feel that pull to reconnect with that deeper part of myself.
And that's the beauty of Tolle's teachings. They remind us that we already have everything we need within us to experience true happiness and fulfillment. It's just a matter of tapping into that inner wisdom.
Well, this has been an incredible journey into the power of now. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on life, and I'm excited to keep exploring these ideas further.
Me too, and I hope our listeners feel the same way. If you're enjoying this discussion, be sure to like this episode and subscribe to Book Peer for more insightful conversations like this one.
And don't forget to leave a comment below and share your thoughts on the power of now. What resonated with you? What are you still pondering? We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time, may you find peace and joy in the present moment.